Froggy the Gator was enjoying a rainy day inside in his basement. He was hanging out with his friends, Tomato Hedgehog, Mr. Hummus, Pterodactyl, and Wormbird, and they were playing with Froggy's vast collection of construction equipment trucks. You see, and you probably already knew this, or at least you could have guessed it, but Froggy the Gator was a big-time fan of construction equipment. Every time he drove in the car with his mom or his dad, he was always on the lookout for construction sites. He loved driving around town and looking at all of the things that were being built. He looked for cranes, he looked for bulldozers, he looked for wheel loaders, he looked for excavators, or diggers, as he liked to call them, and anytime he spotted one, he'd shout out to his mom or his dad in the front seat, and they'd talk about the machine and what all it was capable of. And so, because he was such a preeminent expert on construction equipment, Froggy the Gator had collected quite the assortment of toy construction equipment of his own. And that's what he and his friends were playing with in the basement today. Froggy had all of his toys lined up as he spoke to his friends. "Okay, everyone," Froggy said. "Today we are building the great skyscraper of Gator Grove Industries." They also had a huge pile of blocks, and they were about to embark on the arduous means difficult or really hard to overcome. They were about to embark on the arduous task of building this made-up skyscraper so they could see how tall they could get the blocks to stack. "Today," Froggy continued, "we're building this skyscraper, and everybody here has an important job to do. Tara," he said to Pterodactyl, "you are going to be our crane operator." And Froggy pointed to his toy crane on the ground. It was yellow, of course, and it had a big long neck with a real working pulley that they could attach the blocks to and lift them up as the tower got taller and taller. "And Mr. Hummus," Froggy continued, "you are going to operate our digger, another quite important task." And Froggy pointed to his toy excavator, or digger, that was actually orange, if you can believe that, which happened to match the color of Mr. Hummus's fur, and Froggy motioned with his hands how to operate the very special machine. "Wormbird," Froggy said, "you're going to be doing all of our bulldozer work today, which is also important because we have quite a bit of imaginary dirt to move before we can build this Gator Grove Industries skyscraper," and Froggy pointed at his big blue and white bulldozer with a white cabin and a big blue blade on the front, ready to move as much dirt as was necessary to complete the task. "Tomato Hedgehog, you'll be operating our cement mixer," Froggy said, which, again, is another important job, because we have to build the foundation of our skyscraper, and of course, an important ingredient in any foundation is cement. And well, that's what you're going to be doing today. And finally, Froggy said, "there's me, Froggy the Gator, and I'll be operating our dump truck and our skid steer loader. Yes, that's right, 2 separate machines, but since I am probably the most knowledgeable about construction equipment that I have ever met, I felt that was appropriate." And with that, the crew got to work building the Gator Grove Industries skyscraper. "Okay, Wormbird and Mr. Hummus, you guys are up first," Froggy said. "Mr. Hummus, I need you to use your digger arm and dig up a bunch of dirt that's piled on where we're going to lay our foundation." So Mr. Hummus immediately jumped into action. He steered the excavator toy toward where the foundation was ready to be set, and he dug up huge chunks of imaginary dirt with his excavator claw. "Great work, Mr. Hummus," Froggy said to his friend, and Mr. Hummus expertly maneuvered the digger arm. Before long, there was a veritable mountain of dirt cleared from the foundation site. "Okay, Wormbird, it's time to get all of this dirt out of the way, and that's where you come in. Take the bulldozer and get to it." So Wormbird steered his toy bulldozer to the imaginary dirt, and with his huge metal blade, he cleared out all the dirt like an absolute professional, as if he had been operating bulldozers all of his life. "Amazing work, Wormbird," Froggy said. "Now we have a clear foundation site. This team is off to an impressive start." "Next," Froggy continued, leading the way like the expert foreman that he truly was, "it's your turn, Tomato Hedgehog. Let's lay this foundation, nice and even, so we can start building this skyscraper." so Tomato Hedgehog drove his toy cement mixer right to where they'd cleared out all of the dirt. He made really cool whirring and spinning noises with his mouth, like this, like whir, whir, hum, rumble, rumble, and he spun the cement barrel around so it would mix up all of the cement and water to make concrete, and then he dumped the pretend mixture right into where the foundation was meant to be. After a few minutes, the foundation was flawless. It was like glass. It was like an ice skating rink, perfectly level and ready for building. "Truly inspired work," Froggy said to Tomato Hedgehog, as Tomato Hedgehog proudly stepped back to admire his handiwork. "Now, team, it's time to build." "Remember why we're here today, everybody," Froggy said to his friends. "We came together today to build the tallest building Gator Grove has ever seen, and to build a suitable home for Gator Grove Industries, which we just made up. And we're off to a great start. But if we're going to complete the job, it's going to take teamwork. And that's where me and Pterodactyl come in." So Froggy hopped behind the wheel of his toy skid steer loader, and he loaded up all of the I-beams, which were the blocks they were going to use to create the frame of the skyscraper. He loaded up beam after beam, and he fed them to Pterodactyl, who was operating the crane, if you'll recall, and then she lifted the beams high up into the air where the rest of the team was waiting, safely, of course, and tied to other previous beams so they wouldn't fall, even though this was all pretend in the first place, and they welded all the beams together to create the frame of their mighty skyscraper. They loaded and lifted and welded over and over again, and before long, they'd built the tallest structure that Gator Grove had ever seen. The group estimated the structure must have been about 100 stories, or roughly 1,200 feet, much taller than anything else downtown, and then all that was left was to put the finishing touches of floors and windows and all the other details that made their building so special. As they worked together to complete their awesome building, they stepped back to have one final look at all they had achieved that rainy afternoon. And as they did, they heard some footsteps coming down the stairs. "Oh no," thought Froggy. "Hopefully whoever is coming down here knows not to topple our skyscraper. All of these materials are fresh, and the slightest infringement could spell disaster." But lucky for the construction crew, it was none other than Daddy the Gator. And as he turned the corner to see what the kids had built, they had used some real building supplies too, like their blocks, so it wasn't totally imaginary, and it was impressive enough to impress Daddy the Gator. Daddy the Gator smiled and said, "Wow, kids, what a great project. This is probably the tallest building in Gator Grove now." It was, which was the entire point. And Daddy the Gator said, "I'm really proud that you guys built this thing today. And you know what it shows more than anything else?" The kids all thought for a second, but nobody had a good answer. "No, Dad," Froggy said. "What does it show more than anything else?" Daddy the Gator paused for a moment to let the lesson sink in. "It shows, kids, that teamwork and cooperation is how you get things done. And you can always go farther together, working in unison, than you ever could on your own."
Happy Thanksgiving for perspective.
That's right, everyone. Until next time, we'll talk soon.